You've probably seen headlines like this over the past week suggesting that oat milk and other milk alternatives increase the risk of depression. Well, let's look at the study behind the headlines. The study included data from over 350,000 participants from the UK Biobank cohort who were followed for about 13 and a half years. And they found that consumption of semi-skim milk was associated with a lower risk of depression and anxiety, and full cream milk was also associated with a lower risk of anxiety. And on the other hand, milk alternative consumption was associated with a 14% higher risk of depression. Now that might sound concerning if taken at face value, but there's more to this story. They accounted for a number of potential confounding variables like income, education, health history, alcohol consumption, and fruit and vegetable intake, but they did not account for overall calorie intake. And the researchers actually note that that omission may affect the results and suggest that for future research they include it in the adjustment model. But that's confusing because it makes it sound like they didn't do that at all. And while they didn't do that in their main analysis, they did do it in an additional analysis that can be found in their supplementary material, which almost nobody reads. And when they adjusted for total calorie intake, none of the types of milk were significantly associated with a higher or lower risk of depression or anxiety. In fact, the estimate for milk alternatives and anxiety actually flipped, so if anything, the results are more compatible with a reduction in risk. But again, they were not statistically significant. So why might this be? Well, a larger portion of those who consumed milk alternatives had a BMI under 25, which can include both the healthy and underweight range. Unfortunately, they didn't separate those two categories, so we can't say for certain, but it's quite possible that more of the milk alternative consumers were in that underweight range and possibly struggling with disordered eating patterns, which is one reason they might opt for milk alternatives, especially low-calorie options like almond milk. This wouldn't necessarily highlight a cause and effect relationship between milk alternatives and depression, but an association between those who are excessively restricting calories and certain mental health conditions. And that would explain why the association essentially vanished when they adjusted for calorie intake. Of course, this is an area that could use some further research, but we really shouldn't be jumping to conclusions with shocking headlines just yet.